We're going to start out with a few terms here, weather-related terms. A lot of these we've covered already, but it's good to write them down. Why don't you go ahead and write this down? Weather, the happenings of the atmosphere at a specific time and place. Includes temperature, precipitation, wind. I throw like dew point, humidity, things like that in there. So weather is what's happening at a specific time and place. So if you say, what's the weather like outside today? Okay, we're talking about today. We're talking about maybe at this exact time and this place. Okay, maybe I want to look up the weather in Miami, Florida for tomorrow, the forecast. Okay, that's a specific time and place. It's not long term, it is in a very short term time, a very specific time. So weather, the atmosphere at a specific time and place. As opposed to climate, go ahead and write this down. The average weather events on a specific place or a long period of time. The average weather events of a specific place over a long period of time. Climate is what it's normally like year after year after year. If I ask you about the climate of South Dakota in January, you are probably going to say cold, maybe 0 degrees or lower, windy, lots of snow. But that doesn't mean it's going to be like that every day. A few years back, we had like a week of temperature, this was in January, where we hit 60 degrees and we were like breaking records. It was 60 degrees, okay, and sunny and just gorgeous out. That's not the normal climate. The normal climate is really cold, snowy, windy, okay? So that was weather at a specific day or week. Climate is what normally happens. Okay? The climate of South Dakota in July is usually hot and humid. Now that doesn't mean we can't have a cool day in July, but most of the time, year after year after year, that's what happens. Humidity, go ahead and write this down. The measure of the amount of water vapor in the air. Think of the air as a sponge. If there is no humidity outside, the sponge is completely dry. Maybe a brand new sponge right out of the package, completely dry. If it's really, really humid outside, it'd be like dunking that sponge in the sink and having it completely full of water. So humidity is the amount of water vapor in the air. In the summer, it tends to be more humid than in the winter because warm air holds water better than cold air. Okay, so in the summer, if you have a basement, like our basement is finished, we have carpet and drywall and couches and stuff down there. Okay, we use a dehumidifier, and that sucks the humidity out of the air, so our walls don't get wet or our carpet doesn't get damp or anything like that. During the winter, we usually use a humidifier. Okay, the air is dry, and because cold air doesn't hold moisture very well, so we, like I bet some of your teachers have a humidifier that puffs water into the air, so that you're not so dry. You'll notice it if like you have contacts, okay, your eyes will be really maybe dry and you'll want to rub them a lot. Your skin might get dry and itchy. You might get like nosebleeds randomly, okay, because when you breathe in that dry air, it dries out your nasal cavity and will be more likely to break blood vessels. So humidity is often dependent on temperature. I just kind of explained that already. Go ahead and write this down. Relative humidity depends on temperature. Warm air can hold more water than cold air. Sorry, I got ahead of myself a little bit. So let's say it's in July in South Dakota and it's 90 degrees outside. And the relative humidity, it's shown as a percentage. So let's say it's 50% humidity, relative humidity in July in South Dakota. That means the air, if it's a sponge, is half full. Okay, the air is holding half as much water as it possibly can. Okay, if we're in January in South Dakota and it's 0 degrees outside and it's 50% humidity, the air is holding half of what it can at that temperature. Okay, but in the summer, if it's that summer 50% is a lot more than the winter 50% because of the temperature. Okay, if I have 2 students decide to do bench press, and one of them lifts weights all the time, they're super strong, okay, and I tell them to put 50% of what they can bench on the bar and do it, okay, that might be 100 pounds, okay, but if I have the second student who's never touched a weight ever and they're super skinny and they try to do bench press and they do 50% of what they can, it's probably not going to be as much as the other kid. It's going to be much less. Okay, so it's how much you possibly can do. Okay, well, it's the same with relative humidity, how much the air is holding at a certain temperature. Okay, just explained, if the relative humidity is 50%, then the air at that temperature is only holding half of the water vapor that it can. So the temperature is going to kind of determine what the percentage is. A little map of the different areas of the world. Humid is like the light purple, and you might notice, okay, humid, wet places like here, okay, we got rainforests and stuff. Africa, we got some rainforests there. Okay, the dry areas would be the oranges. Okay, you might notice here in the US, okay, we got a desert here. Australia's pretty dry. Okay, so you kind of see the different areas of humidity in the world. Go ahead and write this down. Dew point is the temperature at which air is saturated. Dew or fog forms because the air cannot hold any more water. During the summer, this happens a lot. Let's say it gets crazy hot. Let's say it's 95 degrees in the summer in South Dakota, okay? And it's really humid out. Okay, let's say the air is holding 80% humidity. It's 80% full. Now, overnight, normally the temperature drops. Let's say it drops to 70, from 95 to 70, okay? When the temperature of the air drops, it can no longer hold that much water, okay? It's going to become saturated, which means it's holding as much as it possibly can, and it's going to drop some on the grass. And that's why when you wake up in the morning in the summer, the grass might be soaked, okay? It might look like it rained, okay? When really what happened was the air was really humid, it was very wet, and then it cooled off and it reached its dew point. So the dew point is the temperature at which we're going to get dew or frost. Okay, overnight, in the winter, you'll wake up and there will be frost on your car or frost on the sidewalk or whatever. That means we reached the dew point temperature overnight. It cooled off to the point where the air said, I can't hold this water anymore, and it had to drop it. Hopefully that makes sense. We won't worry about this. A psychrometer measures relative humidity. That is all.